Hi, this is Neha Hirajan, your host, and I welcome you all to our very first podcast produced by Shutter Corp. Today we have Lex Limbu as our very first guest in our very first podcast, of course. I'm pretty sure every one of you know him, but for those who don't, Lex is a blogger and a YouTuber from the UK, and now he owns a popular blog under his own name. Now that you know, let's welcome him. Hi, Lex.
Hi, Neha. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Oh my God, of course, why not? I'm really happy to be here and to be able to be your first guest. I think that's a very memorable
It's really sweet of you.
memorable thing right there. Yeah.
So, how long has it been in Nepal? Give us a little gist of what's going on in your life right now.
Right. So this time around, I'm here for 3 weeks, of which 2 weeks was spent with Tracing Nepal. And I have a few days left before I head back to the UK. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Tracing Nepal?
Tracing Nepal is Tracing Nepal is something that my friend and I, Sandrika Gurung, and I started back in 2014. The whole idea came out of, because having lived, personally lived majority of my life outside of Nepal, I always enjoyed experiences where I came back to Nepal and visited different places. And when my dad took me to like Hamro Gaon, like in Taplejung, and I just felt like a lot of young people, young adults who are growing up abroad were lacking that experience, because when their family brought them back to the UK, brought them back to Nepal, all they were doing was, going to relatives' house to eat, and they were getting a very boring view of Nepal. Okay? So I thought, Tracing Nepal is going to be an experience which is going to let these young adults show Nepal in a way that Nepal is cool, it's fun, it's exciting, as well as there are some parts of there are a lot of parts of Nepal that still needs help, still needs support, and through that they
needs
engage.
To be exposed also.
Yes, and they engage with incredible work of charities and individuals who are doing such a huge thing to make a difference here in the community. So that is the Tracing Nepal idea and the experience.
So what kind of applicants do you take in? Like, what is the recruitment process?
Right. So every year in around January, we open the applications. This is a annual experience only, and we only take up to 12 to 13 people due to our capacity. This is not my full-time thing that I'm doing. So when we do get applicants, we select few people who have lots of experience, who have done volunteering before, who have traveled to different countries. And then we also take in people who have no experience, whether that's education or whether that's work or working with people and voluntary. And some people, they might cite reasons being, that they want to come to Nepal to explore their identity because growing up in Hong Kong or UK, they've never felt Nepali or British either, So it's
like
a
between,
mixture.
Like you don't know where you belong, sort of.
Yeah, no eta na uta.
Yeah.
That was another word that I heard from somebody else this morning.
Yes,
so yeah. It's a mixture of all of them. It's a mixture of all of them. So in that sense, the team members from Tracing Nepal can support one another through their experience sharing as well. And they are able to reap a lot more benefits from the experience that they undertake in that 2 weeks.
So basically, you don't take applicants from Nepal, but Nepalese who reside outside the country, right?
Correct. So at the moment, the whole idea has only been for Nepali people who live outside of Nepal. But eventually, the idea is, we would like to grow. We see ourselves growing, but we don't want to grow too rapidly because once you start growing and you start shrinking, then that's a really bad idea, bad thing that people will kind of tap on. Eventually, in the long run, we would like to cater to Nepali people from Nepal and also non-Nepalis, foreign nationals, and aim for, the complete tourist experience.
Yeah, like an international platform, sort of.
Yeah, but I think it's going to take a while for us to get there. There's a lot of homework to do, a lot of experience that we have to gain ourselves. But yeah.
You started blogging early on, perhaps at the age of 15.
Yes,
Is
yeah.
it so?
Yeah.
I did my patient
You've done your research.
Yeah, true. Which is very early for me, at least. And I'm mentioning this right now because I'm assuming that whatever has happened in your life and whatever is happening work-wise, including Tracing Nepal, it all started with your blogs.
Correct. So it's like whenever people ask me like, how should we introduce you? I always say, just go with the blogger because that was the first thing that got me noticed or that gave visibility to what I was doing. And then out of blogging and that visibility, so many things have come about, such as Tracing Nepal.
Yeah, true. What has the journey been like from the time you started till today? Because, you started in the year 2005 or 7?
2006 or seven.
Okay, and
Yeah.
it's 2018 right now. I
Yes.
mean, the journey and the gap is like huge. It's massive. Do you see any sort of transition over the years?
I definitely see a lot of growth personally and professionally as well. I think as a 15, 16-year-old, you're so you feel like you're on the top of the world and you're the only one. And at that age, I also probably acted as if I was only doing everything for myself. But over the years, I realized that, my blog and now much more my visibility has grown, drastically. And I have to be much more careful with how I kind of, do things, say things, and how I add opinions to things that are going around and making news. The other thing is, seeing how social media has changed in the past 10 years has been very, very fascinating, I blog a lot less than what I used to, even 4 or 5 years ago.
As an audience myself.
Yeah, and I think the whole blogosphere has been changing. People don't read as much.
Yeah,
it's all
true.
about videos.
Yeah.
Content has been shrinking.
I mean, they're more into all these pictorial things. Like, for example, Instagram is very famous as
Exactly.
opposed to Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And perhaps it's one of the reason, that people can resonate directly or they can see things. And do you think it takes away from your work, what you do? I mean, you have a certain hobby or, you have that passion for blogging, right? Do you think it takes away from that section?
I definitely think with how I started, it definitely takes away the things that I used to do when I started. But I also think that there is an advantage to everything that is happening right now. Before, if it was celebrities or other people, they would rely on websites or blogs to let that be their platform for their message to come out. But now everyone has access to their own platform and they don't need to rely on websites, etc. So you become the kind of author of your own kind of writing, or you become your own voice, right now, which is really good.
Yeah, in a way, right?
In a way, yeah. But I think that it's a challenge that for people like me who are bloggers who still want to blog, we must adapt with the change. So we must be, we must kind of convert ourselves into a 1-minute format and all that, which I don't necessarily see myself doing. That's why I'm a lot less, if that makes sense, in terms of blogging and my visibility online.
You've been in this blogging game for a very long time now. I mean, in front of people, in front of media. I mean, it's been a really long run. Do you think, it at times it sort of feel like really pressured, or do you feel like a work at times?
Yeah, definitely. Like now that I, let's say I'm a grown-up adult, I've finished all my studying and all that, and my personal... let's say my professional life in the UK, where I work Monday to Friday and I'm tired and I want to just go home and sleep or just read something or watch something. But I can't, because sometimes there's a bit of, एक दुईवटा भए पनि blog post गर्नै पर्छ, because you have to, visibility is so important, consistency is so important, and then sometimes that makes you think, like, why do I even do this? It's not like me not uploading anything is going to change somebody's life, but
sorry to
and there's that amount of kind of that pressure you exert on yourself, because you don't want to give things up, because I understand how much I have gained from this amount of visibility. So now it does feel like a responsibility and sometimes a chore. But you know what? There are days where I feel so like, you know what? I want to write about this. I want to share what my views are and feelings are as well.
The video you just released, which is a great video, your coming out video, and I really want to congratulate you for it right now, even though I know I'm like super late, but better than never. About the video, you've said a lot of things which are very intricately put and very deep, and as an audience myself, it just caught me, You've said that, this is my perspective on what you've said, okay? You've said that you started off blogging as a hobby, as a passion, right? And it went down to being sort of obligatory at some point. I don't know, perhaps you felt the need to, walk, talk, or behave a certain way. And you also said, quote unquote, I have to read the quote out, would I be able to deliver? Would I be able to be the person they expect me to be? It just caught me as an audience. Why would you say so? I mean, where were you coming from at that particular point of time?
When things start going good for people, there's a lot of kind of adoration, adulation, and kind of expectation. And I think one of the most difficult things is when you start listening to that. When you start listening to that, you suddenly feel like, oh my goodness, like, there's only, they just expect bigger and better from me. And because the hype around doing great things is so much that can literally, pressure somebody. Yeah. And I think that's where I was coming from, because there's always that element. I know that when I'm in the UK, so many people come to me and they easily say, Bhanza, timi ta Nepalma huनुपर्ने मान्छे हो, के गरेर बसेको UK मा, you're someone who could do great things in Nepal, like don't waste your time here and stuff. But they don't understand that there's so much reasons behind me staying in the UK. And personally, one reason is because I actually love being in the UK as well. And I have my whole family, whole base, and it's not something that I can just kind of switch off, अघि तपाईले भन्नुभएको छ न यता न उता. I'm literally going to be a bit of that guy, but I'm going to use it in a very positive context. So when I'm here, even for my 3 weeks, I make sure that every day I do something, and that contributions will still remain. But I think it's a journey. But when I was younger, it was definitely something that I felt really bombarded by. But now at the moment,
not anymore.
Yeah, I'm very clear regarding my journey.
Have you sort of mastered the art of balancing things?
Yeah, definitely. Now, and then I've also realized that it's about me at the end of the day, and it doesn't really matter what people say. But I think everyone will take a while for that to hit.
If you really have to pinpoint one element or that one factor or that one point that sort of, triggered you to come out completely naked, not literally, in front of the entire world. Because I bet it was scary, and I bet it was like dreadful and daunting and, fearful in every which way, right? What pushed you to do so?
Well, in terms of coming out, I think it was only in 2014 that I felt that, okay, you know what, I think I need to come out one day in a very public way. And I wasn't scared or nervous about the kind of reaction, because to be honest, if you followed me closely enough, then I think everyone had an idea anyway. It wasn't something that I was kind of like hiding, from the things that I showcased, etc., especially on my Instagram. But it was just like everyone was waiting for me to say it with my own words, with my own mouth. Okay. And I think now looking back at the video coming out, which by the way, Shutter Corp and Kailash has done incredible work on, I am very proud that the video came out. And what I didn't realize what I was doing was I was the voice to my own story. And it didn't take other people's halla and any other kind of random things to come out for that revelation to come forth. Yeah, but I think when you have the power to carry out your own story and say it like loud and proudly, that turns the tide around. Yeah, नत्र भए त अब त्यही अरू मान्छेहरूले it's like ए उ त गे हो तर उसले कसलाई पनि भनेको छैन भनेर भन्दा, and now suddenly उसले त उ त गे हो अनि उसले त भन्यो नि त खालको क्या, like and I think मैले त त्यो सोचेको पनि थिएन, and but that's happened, and I think I'm very fortunate for that. And I had to say, maybe because of my visibility and my years of I would like to say my years of kind of good work and networking, the support has been there. And I can only hope that other people, whether they're a visible person or someone who's, leading their own kind of personal life, that they get that support too.
Did you discuss with your parents before coming out, like making an entire video and throwing the product out to the world? Or was it your own, intuition and
it was my
choice?
It was my own choice. So all I did was the scene with my mom and me the night before.
That just got me, I swear. I cried, okay.
The night before, I told my mom like, "Hey, सुन्नु न, भोलि भिडियो बनाउँदैछु कि तपाईलाई जे फिल भएको त्यो भन्नु न है." And then she was like, "What? Why couldn't you tell me before and stuff?" And I was like, because it's not something that you should be thinking a lot about. You should just say what you feel, because at the end of the day, your feelings are never right or wrong, especially in a matter like this. So, and in terms of telling my dad, how that came about was I wanted to wait until the whole video was created and then showcase it to my dad and my sisters and be like, right, this is the video and it's going to come out very soon. Right? Because I felt like if I talk about it and then start explaining it, it's very airy. It's going to be difficult for them to contextualize. But I knew that what I wanted to create was something that no one would say, you're wrong to actually upload it. Do you get what I mean? Yeah.
But do you think it was, making an entire video, being behind the camera and, making someone else film you, video you, and, create a product is a lot easier than being in person with someone and confronting to them and, answering to all their whys and hows? Because I bet it's very difficult to confront about things to people you really love and care, because you might as well, you don't know the line, right? I mean, you might as well hurt them.
Yeah.
So do you think,
okay. So in terms of like, I came out to my parents before the video. Long before the video.
Okay.
But it's just that they thought, okay, we talked, we had a lovely discussion and, talked a lot about, all that and stuff. But in terms of my decision to make things public and create a video, that was more of a, let me create the video first and then I'll show you. And in my life, how I kind of live is I don't really ask for permission. I inform them. So ever since the age of 16, whether it's traveling, whether it's doing anything, I just say, look, I'm going to do this. And I don't normally, I feel like I'm sensible enough to actually make my own decisions. So,
like now that your video is out and the world have seen it and commented on it and all those things, answer me honestly, do you think your video sort of encompasses a larger group of LGBTI people and community as a whole to sort of, come together and help each other to liberate the image in the society? I mean, do you think your video touches every possible corners and have that sort of an impact on people or in society in general?
That's a really good question. It's a very broad question as well. I wouldn't like to say yes, it does, but I would like to, but from the kind of messages that I've received, it was, I actually thought all the support and the way that people relate would only be from the LGBTIQ community. But it wasn't a case of that. It was even people who were going through domestic abuse, domestic violence, people who are going through intercaste marriage and whose parents never supported them, people who wanted to study different subjects and their parents never supported them. The mother-son angle that's in the video, that was related by in so many different contexts. So Didi Barajan, I think I was so surprised because I just thought it's just going to be all the LGBTIQ people who will watch it and they're probably going to be like, oh my God, you've done this, Khalko. But I never expected that. And in terms of my video, it's from a perspective of a gay man claiming the space that I am a gay man. But I think along that lines, that also, because the LGBTIQ community is kind of lumped together as one, it's a moment for all of us. It's a moment for all of us. We've had some incredible work and visibility from our trans brothers and sisters in this country, and it's just a matter of time that more visibility and role models or figures of example emerge from gay men, lesbian women, and so on.
Do you get questioned on your identity? I mean, your sexuality as a whole by people a lot?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't. I think that's a challenging thing.
Not even on a personal level. I mean, your friends and all. If you
no, because I think surprisingly, even after the video came out, nobody has actually asked myself or my father or my mother regarding what actually happened or why this is around. And I think it's also because me as a person, even though I'm very social and I go all here and there, there's always a level of distance that I guess people have between me and them. And my friend circle, we're very close. And I don't think it's before all of this, like I never thought it was anybody's business, but now I've suddenly made it everyone's business.
I mean, I asked you this question because I vividly remember having a conversation with one of my best friends who's gay. I told him that I presented a paper on LGBT rights in Nepal in my university and how I remembered him while doing so. I mean, which was very natural of me, I think.
Yes.
And to that, in a knee-jerk reflex, he goes, like, I don't know, कुनै पनि यस्तो बक्समा फिट हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्दैन भनेर भनेको थियो मलाई. And at least for me, I could sense a feeling of tiredness in the way he said it.
Yeah.
So I thought, you would have a similar kind of experience, but no, which is great. I mean,
I mean, in terms of labeling, this is 2018. If you look at examples from the West, like America, UK, Europe, there's the whole kind of phase where people are gender fluid and everything. But at the moment in Nepal, we still have to claim that I am gay.
Yeah, true.
And if I could, I would just say like, I'm just me, and
I'm
I
just
think
a human being.
I love everyone. And it's just like I think for a lot of people they get hooked on the question, कुन age देखि चाहिँ तपाईलाई पुरुष मन परेको र महिला मन परेको? And my thing is, मलाई त दुवै मन पर्थ्यो, but I think एउटा age बाट चाहिँ I realized that I think I like boys more than girls, right? And sometimes I still confuse my friends because when I go out clubbing, etc. And I'm just like, getting really interested in some girls, and they're like, what? Like, what is happening? But I think, like, sometimes as people grow up and then they start hearing and learning, oh, त्यो गरे भने त त्यो त बेग्लै हो खालको, that's when subconsciously people start behaving in a different way.
But we also sort of have to understand that change is the only constant, right?
Yes.
I mean, and it's okay if you feel a certain way yesterday, and it's okay if you feel totally different, like just the opposite the next day.
Definitely.
And, yeah. You took a huge step for yourself. I mean the video, of course, and of course for the world to see, and everybody to sort of jump into it. While in context, I am a huge fan of a celebrity figure who is like presumably gay, and more often than not, in many of his public platforms, he's like made it very clear that, you know what, I don't want to sort of discuss my sexuality or justify what I am to the world, which is fair enough to me, at least. Perhaps that does not define him as an individual or a person.
I really want to ask who this person is. I have no idea.
Off camera.
Okay.
But do you think it's okay, or do you think it's not okay for someone very influential and for someone who is in a certain position where people, there are a lot of people who would legit want to listen to what they have to say and might as well apply in their lives and follow it religiously, right?
Yeah.
To sort of shut down on something that's very important, that has to be talked about. I mean, not in a way that, I'm gay and all those things, but then, like I exist, sort of,
Yeah,
and it's very important, I think. Do you think it's okay, or it comes down to individual choice?
Firstly, it's a really good question that you asked. I'm not sure. I'm actually not too sure regarding who you're speaking about in the context. But in terms of Nepali context, मैले आज बिहान पनि एउटा इन्टरभ्यूमा भनेको थिएँ that 2014-15 मा UNDP को एउटा इन्टरभ्यू भएको थियो, इन्टरभ्यू हैन, एउटा डिस्कसन भएको थियो, and I said trans womenहरू कति अहिले अगाडि आइसकेको छ, but the biggest worry is it's actually pushing a lot of gay men further into the closet, because they're worried that if they do come out, everyone's going to think that they're actually now going to dress up as a woman, and because the whole LGBT community, the T has over kind of shadowed all the other terms भनेर. And then त्यति बेला मैले के कुरा गरेको थिएँ भने, I was thinking about certain figures, and I said, यो मान्छे आएर हैन, if that person claimed that space, I am a gay person, I'm a gay man भन्यो भने, that would just flip everything around क्या, अनि मैले भनेको थिएँ, and we were just like, yeah, but I hope that person comes out. And then you know what, everyone it's their own journey, it's their own kind of preference and stuff, but I definitely feel that in the context of where we are in Nepal, we definitely have to really use these labels positively, and I wished, and I still wish that more people, whether they're from the media sector or academic backgrounds, or even the political spectrum, that they come out. They come out and they claim that space, because only that is gonna bring much more visibility and light into all of this. Because for me in 2014-15, when I was talking to my friend there, I was waiting as well, but then the more life experiences I have, the more people that I met for coffee dates, and then the more I realized, oh my goodness, you're going to be another guy who's going to be married with a woman and have a baby 10 years down the line. And it's just like, you know what, someone has to do it. And then I think sometimes even my friends who are here in Kathmandu, who are from upper class or middle class background, whatever you say, and they always say like, I'm doing all of this, tomorrow I have a gay shoot going, and they say like, why are you doing this? And then I'm like, but when have you seen in a magazine 2 men holding hands and just walking down Osan? When have you seen like,
I would love to see that.
Love is not just between a man and a woman. And
love
I
is
just
love.
And I just don't understand why my friends even ask me like, why are you doing this? It's like, why not? Like, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? Like, like I know that people have come out, gay men have, friends have come out, but I'm not saying, I mean, like the visibility that I gained with the video, that's great. But there are so many more people with much more prominence and visibility that if they come out as well, it just would make certain things so much more better. But you know what? I can't wait for everyone, so I just have to do whatever I can do.
But is it taxing? I mean, just now you said that your friends and so कुनै decision, कुनै choice लिनु पर्यो भने they ask, or हुन्छ नि second thought दिइहाल्छ भन्ने कुरा आयो हैन. Is it taxing? I mean, is it tiresome? Because there's only so much you can explain to the world or to people only for being a certain way, or only for being yourself, basically, right?
True.
Yeah. Is it,
Sometimes, but I don't really listen to people. I don't listen to my friends as well. I think recently one of my friends said, "Oh, like I don't understand the purpose of gay pride and how it's like so over the top." And I think maybe in the context of London and certain countries in certain cities in America, pride now becomes much more of a celebration where there's like hot hunky men. But you have to understand the history behind pride. Pride was created and pride came into formation as a protest. And maybe kunai desma, kunai cities ma, the element of protest is going away because so much rights are there for the community, for the people. But Nepal ma चाहिँ, I think we still need to continue things like the Gai Jatra, Pride Parade, because we have so much to still fight for, argue for. Right? So and it just becomes like, oh my God. But I think it's not just my friends. It's so many people. And I think along the way, like, even though I'm only 26, but I already feel like life has been very long. And sometimes I'm like, oh God, another if people live till 75, that's a long time to live. But I just now at the moment, I think this year has been a lot of reflecting, questioning, and trying to understand why one lives. And I think for me, I've just realized my kind of purpose is to amplify and then just kind of live the message.
Have you been given names?
Have I been given names?
Yeah, given names.
Like what?
Like in a very derogatory way. I mean,
probably like मैले नसुनिकिन होला नि
सुन्ने गरी चाहिँ
सुन्ने गरी त भएको छैन सुन्ने गरी भएको छैन
यदि हुन्छ नि अब सुनिहाल्यो भने because I'm going to be very honest here and very blunt. I saw it in your Twitter recently that you exposed a person who had apparently sent you a message that was advertently audacious. I'm just trying to put it very nicely for you, which was great. I was rooting for that, but
कुन थियो
I don't know. It a screenshot थियो, and somebody sent you a message that said I hate you or something. It was on the dark side.
Yeah.
I mean, is it worth it? Do you retaliate to every single individual who try and deface you?
No. And I think 2008-9 तिर जब म अलिकति युट्युबमा very young and newदाखेरि त कस्तो नराम्रो कमेन्ट आउँथ्यो. And I think from a really young age I grew a really tough skin. And that's very unfair because I was only 14-15 then, and I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that my sister was always there and supportive. And she said, listen, if you're always going to be bogged down by all these comments, you either like just stop now or you just learn to ignore and deal with it. Right? So in terms of online, there's still comments are quite also but I don't really read anyway. Instagram, I tend to like snap back because I feel like Instagram is my territory. YouTube, I don't really care. Facebook, I don't care. But Instagram, like, I'm just like GTFO if you're not here for this.
This kind of attitude you just expressed, nobody is perfect, and it's really cool that these days, people rave and preach about imperfections, about how one should do themselves and just, shut down on what the world have to say and all those things, which is great. I think being self-aware in today's day and age is definitely of paramount importance. But even though like most people, many of them do it, perhaps some of it or some part of it or half of it could be done or is done probably only for the sake of doing it. And I'm saying this, I'm trying to emphasize on this part because I'm shamelessly one of those people. Like there's so many times, there's so many moments where I'm like, you know what, I don't give a horse ass, but in real I'm like giving a dozen of horses ass. You know what I mean? Yeah. How do you practice it? I mean, how do you tend to sort of grow the thick skin, as opposed to only preaching it? And how do you find the balance to sort of embrace all your flaws?
Acceptance first. I think acceptance of what you are and where your strength is, where your weaknesses are. And then I think when you accept, there are certain things that's just you, that you cannot better, and that's when, even if someone tries to pinpoint on that weakness or some flaws in part of your body or whatever, then it doesn't really get to you. So so the most important thing is the relationship that you have with yourself, as cliche as it sounds. And then it's just that going back to what you said, it's so easy to like give advice or just say like, I'm this, but I think you just have to kind of constantly address and reflect on the type of person that you want to be. right? There's a lot of, in terms of this kind of attitude, and people being just snarky, shady, and you know how now in the kind of younger context of social media, it's so cool to throw shade and all that.
Hashtag you can't sit with us.
Yeah. And then just be mean to other people's Instagram and stuff, and then send all like Instagram videos to your friends and stuff. And I've literally said to my friends, listen, if, stop sending me this, because I'm sure somebody else is sending your picture around as well. And we're in that age, okay? We're in that age. And it's a very, you think that only like young teens do this, but even adults do it. And it's just like making sure I'm not down with this, so don't send it to me. And I feel like you shouldn't be down to that either, because you might be the butt of somebody else's joke as well.
Yeah.
So it's like try your best to kind of like, remain present and apply what you're saying in day to day.
How important do you think is mental health, and how important do you think is the presence of emotional quotient in our lives today?
It should always be an important aspect of our health. It's something that is not quite visible. It's not something that we can just Instagram and upload. But I think your mental health is, without your mental health, that's when a lot of things can start deteriorating. And it's very difficult, mental health, one can give so much advice. One can say, oh, these are the things that you need to look out for. But until and unless that person is willing or acceptance or accepting that help, it's just a case of just awareness and activism. But having lost quite a few friends through depression and suicide as well, it's something that I really feel about, and it's not just in Nepal, but
it's sadly everywhere, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's everywhere. It's very unfortunate, but then that's the fact, and we cannot run away from it. Like if I really have to speak for the place I live in, or the society I live in, identification of the problem, given a major lack of awareness, is one huge difficulty to cross over, especially here. I mean, we don't sort of accept to what's real and what's the fact, right? I mean, and it's really sad to see people, losing lives to that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's very challenging, कतिपय अब हाम्रो young मान्छेहरुलाई मात्र नभएर हाम्रो even our parents and older relatives have been affected, and we have lost them as well. But त्यो एउटा त्यो stigma and त्यो place of shame that mental health occupies, it's much more prevalent in a country like ours, and it's still prevalent in places like the UK as well. There are so many resources, but people still don't know, or people still are 10 times hesitant before they seek assistance. And mental health is such a niche, and यस्तो सुरुमा छ भनौं न. It's something that मैले धेरै पहल गर्न खोजिरहेको छु हैन, in terms of my activism and fundraising पनि. मैले recently TPO Nepal भन्ने एउटा यहीकै एउटा charity organization लाई पनि through my online following, we managed to raise TPO Nepal. We managed to raise over 1,200 pounds, which was incredible. अनि त्यति बेला चाहिँ I think त्यो, and sometimes like त्यो गर्दा चाहिँ मलाई कति धेरै my followingले पनि उहाँहरूले मेसेज गर्नुभएको थियो, and they told me about like the things that they have been through, or the things that their family have been through as well. And I thought, I was happy that started a conversation, because a lot of the times on social media it's all about, oh my god, where is this place, what are you eating, and all that. But the conversations that actually make an impact or matter is hardly being discussed. And I hope that through governance, as well as through young people as well, that we know more, and the young people who know more, as I said, always needs to do more, not just to inform their friends, but also their family members.
It's because it starts everything from the family itself.
Yes.
LGBT rights in Nepal, in terms of its laws, I think as a country we're pretty appraised, in terms of its laws, and but do you think we're getting there as progressive human beings, where we are and we will be able to create a space, an environment free from all these petty issues? Discrimination on the basis of sex and gender, there's nothing pettier than this, I think. Well, there could be, considering the world we live in today, but do you think we have gotten somewhere at least, or do you think this certain objective or this certain work or purpose is just too far-fetched?
No. So we are definitely getting somewhere. So I think in 2007, when same-sex relations became legalized, that was a huge move. But from then onwards, the idea is by now, we should have got to same-sex marriage being legalized.
And it's not there still.
That was a huge expectation as well from the Constitution in 2015, but it's taking a while. It's taking a while, and even though that the Constitution Kyoto article actually says that every Nepali citizen has a right to equality, and that and then when it also says that marriage should only be between a man and a woman, that actually takes away
it's
the
very contradictory.
contradictory. And I also read, as a blogger and as someone who is so interested in all of this, it's so important for me to read all of this. And sadly, all of this kind of news and information comes in Nepali. And so I'm just there on certain websites trying to read, trying to make sense of it. And then sometimes the reasons that these people who are trying to implement these codes and articles, rules are very kind of baseless. So I just hope that I think it is going to take much more of protest and activism. It's going to take much more people who have people like me, maybe, who have much more of a kind of cultural, social capital to liaise with people who are in governance or who are in BDS, who are kind of lobbying. And so I can continuously shed light on BDS work. And then it's not just my rights as a gay man should not only be something that I scream about, but allies, friends like you, friends like other people who follow me, they need to be there as well, because I think ultimately it's about equality.
True. Have you ever have you ever gone through a certain point where you've been like, this is it, and this is a major mental breakdown, and I cannot just go on with it anymore, sort of?
I've gone through very challenging moments of my life. Challenging moments. So it's very difficult to say. But I have. I think this year, after I kind of shared the video, I thought this was it. Like my life is it's all going to be on the up now and stuff. But I think I think life just is so unpredictable, and it throws all these curveballs, and sometimes it's things can get very dark, right, and challenging. But I think that on my Instagram story, even though I have like really fun pictures and I'm just having fun all the time, but there are moments where I really share what I'm feeling inside. And I think one thing that I remember vividly is that when you're going through something, you just you wish you had the strength to share it to everyone, to let at least your friends or your support know what is happening in your life, and how you're not just suddenly trying to withdraw yourself and becoming like gloomy and all that. It's so easy to say, hey, yo ke bhako aaj yo ek hafta bhayo yastै bhako khalko type. But it's like you need that space and time to kind of come to terms with whatever you're going through as well, Nita. And yeah, I mean, yes.
So what do you do? I mean, do you space out and zone out on people?
I write.
You write?
I write. I write. So
yeah, I do too. Same.
Yeah. So I write. I write my journal. I try to kind of always give because I'm such an open person, so it's always difficult for me to keep things. So and even before being a blogger, I was very open anyway, and so I try to kind of through captions and stuff give an idea and inkling. Thankfully, my family they're always very respectful. They never ask anything. They just know that if I think मेरो अनुहारमा नै देख्छ when I'm not happy or something. I know when I'm going through things, and I think that there was a moment in my life this year. I think I was just very, very stuff, and but yeah, I think it's a process. It's not something when we go through things, whether it's heartbreak or anything, or life choices, or coming to terms with your sexuality, or huge decisions that you're about to make in life, or learning about things in your life that you find hard to accept. It's like the journey is. It feels like it goes up, but then there's always reminders or triggers along the way, which kind of just shuts you down.
Which is, I think, very necessary as well, right? Because I think happiness is such an overrated emotion. I mean, you cannot be happy like 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
I
think happiness is it's a challenging concept because everyone talks about it and shares it so much that people along the way forget that there are, incredibly tense moments in life. I know where one loses the hope to kind of see the next day and stuff. And त्यति बेला चाहिँ it's just like seeing somebody happy can be like the most destroying thing ever. Not that life is to be compared, but so that's why it's really important that we talk about all kind of share our sad moments. And I think the part of me when I wrote that caption was I wish I could share my whatever I'm experiencing right now, but I know I can't because I just don't feel like I have passed that hurdle yet, and that's quite an annoying thing as well.
I mean, you blog, you write. I mean, there's nothing as powerful as a pen and a paper. But do you struggle at times? Like, कति कुरा त मनमा पनि हुन्छ नि त आफ्नो दिमागमा हुन्छ. There's so many things. I mean, I go through a gamut of emotions a day.
Yeah.
And I have to say, and I have to admit that like more than half of it is on the dark side. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, I have to tackle it and all those things. But do you struggle?
Yeah. But I talk to my friends. So I have like 2-3 really close friends. Close as in like they're the friends that I kind of trouble with all the things that I'm feeling. And for me it's a lot about career. It's a lot about career. It's a lot about kind of understanding the purpose. And sometimes I think I question life too much, or I think too much because that's what my sister always says. And I think, well, we're such different people. I can't just like be like you, just like you can't be like me.
Yeah.
If I tell you to just like think, I know that you can't. And I think it's really difficult. I know that as a blogger, there's so much you can do, you can write and stuff, but there's also an element that you don't always want to write about all those kind of sad things as well. So it's kind of like managing all these perspectives and perceptions, which can be quite challenging in itself. And as a blogger, the most important thing is about honesty. And when you find yourself writing in a way that you're trying to depict another version of you, that's when you feel like, what's the point?
But how do you draw the line? How do you know that, okay, fine, this is a bit too much and I have to stop and, change the path? How do you do that?
I try to deal things with myself first, and when I feel that I'm comfortable enough to share, then that's when I share. I know, but I don't try to kind of tame things down just for the fear that it might kind of worry some people or irk some people. Because sometimes, I think there was one article which I wrote called "Why I Live," and it was a very kind of dark piece. And I had like really good personal messages that came through, and they were like, "Oh my God, I didn't think you would think like this as well," and stuff. And I'm like, no, at the end of the day, we're all humans. My social media, all these Instagram feed where I'm like, in a swimming pool, etc. It's just like a few minutes of my life. That's few minutes of my 24 hours
like
where
few seconds.
Yeah, my brain is going through probably my mind is going through all sort of turmoil.
I think we've come to the end of the show now. Producer sir, are we done? Any last word or any last message you would want to say to our audience?
Think, we've covered such a variety of topics today, which I'm really happy about, and I hope people get to listen to this. And in terms of like just to get it there, whatever that we are going through, the challenges, etc. I hope that everyone is able to. This is very similar to what I said in the video. Find at least one friend who actually listens. Because as I shared in that video, a problem shared is a problem halved, and it can just make you feel so much lighter. And at the end of the day, ultimately, being a nice, kind, respectful person will make everyone's journey a lot better. Whether it's the journey of someone coming out, someone going through something, someone accepting something about themselves, and always look out. I think life can be incredibly challenging sometimes and frustrating, especially in such a context where we all know each other. But you just have to kind of find your own calling and pave your own path.
Thank you so much, Lex, for your time and your presence. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you for your time as well.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We shall catch you all on the next episode.